Wuthering Waves is on the horizon, and with only two 5-star characters being guaranteed for the early game, you are being forced to use some 4-stars. But what 4-stars are even good? Let's start off with a sore spot. Healers are very scarce in the game. If we look at all the defensive characters, we have Verena, Jianjin, Baizhi, and Tao Che. Verena is incredibly broken and is who I would consider to be the best character in the game. She has very strong healing and will keep you alive incredibly well. But as we learned from Genshin and Honkai Star Rail, healers are not valuable unless they provide offensive benefits as well. Verena does this with her passive and her outro skill, which provides the entire team with 20% attack and 15% damage bonus respectively. So Verena is really good, but you cannot guarantee her. Jianjin is the same, but I would consider her worse. This is because her buffs are less universal, giving 38% ultimate damage bonus to the next character, and her healing is worse. She does have good grouping for AoE however. Next up is Tao Che. Her buffs are resonance skill instead of Jianjin's ult damage buff, which makes her worse because none of the better DPS characters really use skill damage. So, with the competition covered, where does Baizhi stand? Baizhi's kit is based around just overhealing the absolute hell out of your teammates. Everything in her kit that you can think of will heal. Her skill will send out her creature to do damage and heal your teammates. Very simple skill, so not much else to say. Next up, her ultimate will, again, heal your team for a large chunk. And then it will heal your team every 2.5 seconds up to 4 times. That should be alright. Nope, her intro skill will, again, heal the entire team, and also do damage, obviously. And her outro skill will, guess what, heal the team over time. Even her Forte circuit gives her more healing. Whenever she does a basic attack, she gets a stack of concentration, and then her skill or heavy attack can release these stacks to heal the team over time and generate Concerto energy, with the heavy attack also regenerating regular energy. With all of that healing, it will be incredibly hard to die. But I mentioned needing offensive benefits as well. So what does Baizhi bring to the table? Simple, a 15% attack buff from her passive talent, and 15% damage bonus, almost the exact same buffs as Verena. I still value Verena more due to her buffs being slightly better, and her also doing more damage on her own. But you can see how Baizhi is an incredibly strong healer you should definitely build, because you'll need 3 sustainers, and besides her, Verena and Jianjin and Tao Che are left, with only one of the 5-stars being guaranteed and you still needing a DPS. Speaking of which, a 4-star DPS sounds pretty needed, does it not? Now, it's less likely that you do not have any DPS, but what will surprise you is just how much Danjin keeps up with the 5-star carries. The first ever limited banner is Jian, an arrow DPS. This means your need for a DPS is lower, especially since near the beginning of the game, you'll get a lot of pulls to guarantee Jian. But again, you'll need 3 at the end of the day. Another option is Calcharo. Now, Calcharo has one of the highest damage ceilings in the entire game, but also has a high skill ceiling. Not only is he able to dual carry with Yinlin due to his Death Messenger's long animation, but even if he doesn't do that, he's still one of the better carries. Then, Ling Yang and Encore are also standard banner characters who function as main DPS. These have their own problems, however. First, I'll talk about Ling Yang. His skill is very confusing at first glance, which leads to Ling Yang being more difficult to master compared to Calcharo or Jian at first glance. But the worst part is that it's entirely worthless when it comes to his actual DPS window. His mid-air playstyle leads to your movement being limited, since things like running between targets just becomes unavailable. This assumes you can even pick up every enemy into the air with you, because if you can't, you need to fall back down to get everyone together. Now, as we get to Encore, she has her own problems as well. Her damage being so split between Liberation, Heavy, Skill, and Basic damage, the best supports can't properly support Encore. It is mainly heavy attack damage, but it doesn't synergize with the heavy attack buffer, Mortefi, because Mortefi likes fast-hitting heavy attack characters, while Encore's heavy attack takes years to trigger. This means that an alternative for a DPS character is very appreciated, and Danjin seems to be the best choice. Chixia is another option, but having to hold her skill means that she can't properly dodge. Danjin, however, is very simple. She just needs to do 2 basic attacks or a dodge counter, use her skill, and then spam 3 basics into her skill to maximize damage. She will drain her own HP, which makes dodging important, but she can restore it herself. By using her skill, you would charge up her meter, which when full enough lets you heavy attack and to restore some HP. She seems to be more of a sub-DPS due to the supportive outro skill, but it is one of the best 4 stars to be used as a carry. Now we get to a character that literally everyone will be getting for 100% free, like Baizhi before her, Sanhua. Sanhua is available from the 7-day login event, and oh boy, she a good character to give. Sanhua is a sub-DPS-esque character much like Mortefi and Yinlin. In my opinion, this role is one of the most important in the game, but it's also one of the most situational. This is because the sub-DPS characters usually do good damage on field with support on their outro skill. These outro skill buffs can be very specific, ranging from havoc damage bonus, arrow damage bonus, or for the better characters it's things like basic damage bonus. This is what Sanhua gives, which makes her best in slot character for anyone who does basic attacks regularly. Most characters are able to use basic attacks quite effectively, especially characters like Ling Yang and Encore. But what impresses me most about her is her fluid gameplay combined with her impressive damage output for her rarity and role. Her kit is focused around detonating ice chunks that she can create with her abilities. Her skill will do damage and summon an icicle, and give her a stack of clarity, and same for her intro skill. At 2 stacks of clarity, you have the biggest window to use her special heavy attack that can detonate the icicles. Her ultimate will spawn a big icicle and give 2 stacks of clarity, which means you can intro skill, regular skill and heavy attack, and then ult and heavy attack again. Even if you do not have enough energy, which would be pretty shocking considering her low ult cost, she generates so much concerto energy that's no problem. Her rotation is also incredibly fast, making her incredible to front-load damage. Even then, if you want to play her as a main DPS, you can. Her 5th basic attack can generate her clarity stacks, allowing you to extend her field time to do more heavy attack damage. Now let's talk about a character that will be very important for everyone playing GN, being Mortefi. Now Mortefi is a very interesting character because unlike other characters of the sub-DPS variety, he makes his preference very clear outside of his outro skill. Yinlin's kit, for example, is just focused on doing damage with a buff on the outro skill. Sanhua follows the same design philosophy. Mortefi, however, his damage output is entirely focused around coordinated attacks triggered by his ultimate. When you hit an enemy, Mortefi will trigger a coordinated attack 1 time every 0.35 seconds. But that would be too simple. Yeah, he will do 2 of those attacks if the attack is a heavy attack. Now suddenly GN mains are jumping for joy, and Mortefi's viability is entirely based around his synergy with the current premier DPS. This is also helped by the fact that his outro skill will buff heavy attack damage by a ridiculous amount. Now, you'd think that's where it ends, but Mortefi is good for more reasons. He takes very little field time, having one of the fastest concerto rotations in the game. The faster your support is, the faster your DPS gets on the field, leading to faster clear times. This gives Mortefi one of the best S0 baselines. However, as opposed to most other 4 stars, Mortefi has some crazy sequences. His S1 allows his ult's coordinated attack to also trigger on skills, making it strong for characters like Danjin or Chixia. His S4 will massively increase his ult duration, 70%. Do you have any idea how insane that is? 17 seconds is just 1 second shorter than Furina's ultimate in Genshin, which is one of the longest buffs in that game. And then obviously, his S6, which will boost the entire attack. I think especially his S4 is good here, making him one of the best 4 stars that will scale the hardest as the game goes on. So which 4 star are you going to build? 4 star characters are integral to any gacha game, and that is no different in Wuthering Waves. But Wuthering Waves has made some very strong ones that don't need their sequences to fulfill their role, and that means good things for the future. That will be all from me. Peace.